Yes, this is Cricbuzz Live. It's 1-1 with 2 to play. Everything to play for in this series. Who'd have thought that when the West Indies was struggling in the test matches, not able to take the game into the fourth day, just collapsing from nowhere. But you change the clothes, you change the color of the ball, and suddenly it's a different side that comes on. The West Indies fans might well be saying it should have been 2-1, but it is 1-1 with a tie. It's been a really good series. Now let's see what happens. First, the news from the toss. Virat Kohli has won it again. We so often talk about the fact that Virat Kohli doesn't win tosses. He's won yet another, but it's at the Brabant Stadium, not the Wankhede, and so he's decided he's going to bat first. Two changes. Ravindra Jadeja comes in for Chahal. That strengthens the batting, and poor Rishabh Pant goes out again. And the Kedar Jadhav, who's been past fit after the timeline that we had for you a couple of days ago, he's now fit and ready to play. Watch out for a hamstring. So those are the changes in the Indian side. So there's this sixth bowling option as well today, and batting extends to number 7 with Bhuvneshwar at number 8. Zaheer Khan is here, so is Ajay Daria. First of all, we'll talk about the West Indies team as we go along. What do you make of those two changes?
Hard for Rishabh Pant, but the other one was expected. I think that's something which we did speak about in the previous show as well, that Bhuvneshwar Kumar batting at number 7 is little too high for him, and looking at the result also the previous match, and looking at the trend which we've been witnessing, of being reactive in terms of what has happened to the previous match has been continuing. So that's something which was seen in this match as well. I think so far I feel that maybe the debate could have been, if you want 6th bowling option, you can bat MS at number 4 and maybe give Raidu a break. But if the call is taken that Raidu is going to be at number 4, then that debate, that thought process will have no bearing in terms of the team selection.
Actually, I should have asked you this, but let me ask the batsmen this. The batsmen always have fixed positions. The bowlers are always moved around, right?
They are, because that's the nature of the game.
Actually, Zach को पूछना चाहिए था ना ये.
इनसे पूछते तो नहीं, पर ये भी बैट्समैन है पूरे, कम नहीं है किसी से.
सोच में प्रैक्टिकल में नहीं.
Batsmen can be moved around, but generally what you have the opportunity to is to bowl 1 over and take him off and bring him back, which you can't do with the batting order. So you generally have those systems. Little surprised with how I'm very happy Ravindra is in the side. So in personal terms, but I am yet to understand what is happening, because last game was a day before. We were hearing that we want to continue with the players that are going to be playing in the World Cup. We want to play it regularly. One loss and you've changed the whole pattern, the way you're going to play. So the chaos carries on.
Which leads to a question actually. There's 2 games, including this one in this one-day series. 3 in Australia, that's 5. 5 in New Zealand, and then 5 back at home. That's about 15 games before the first World Cup game starts. Do India know what their best lineup for the first game of the World Cup is? You played a few World Cups, 2011. That team was fairly
I don't think the best lineup, the best playing 11, they still don't have the clarity, and that's why this trial is also going on. They're still figuring out their option, but the key questions have remained the same. That's something which is a concern. Like if you're not finding the right kind of fit, right kind of players to achieve that balance, it's understandable that you don't have the options. I think here the options are plenty. It's just that in terms of the processes, what happens when things are not going your way. When things are going your way is a typical classic case where your fast bowlers take early wickets, then you have spin in the middle overs, gives you 3 wickets, and the opponents have been completely out of the game, and your top 3 have been dominating. So when these things don't go your way, when you have a good partnership or the solid middle order, what we've been seeing in this series from West Indies side, putting pressure on the spinners in the middle overs, even though they are losing wickets, they are able to achieve that run rate in the middle overs. Then what? I think these are the questions, and these are the pressure situations which the bowlers and the batsmen also in the middle phase of the game are going through, which needs to be sorted in terms of, and it's mental as well. So I think that's something which the team management also needs to take note of, and and add that mental side of the game as well, and have discussions around it, have evening chats with just, batsmen going for dinners and talking about, oh, I could have done this, I approach in this manner, that manner. I think those kind of conversations are not happening, which is kind of creating this kind of scenario where the results are not coming, or the processes are not getting clarity in those pressure situations.
There have been lots of changes in recent times in Indian cricket. I mean, even today, what do you think someone like a Chahal is thinking? Is Chahal thinking, am I a certainty in the side or am I not? Am I getting left out because Jadeja needs to bat? Now, from the balance of a side, that's fair actually, that you need a number 7 who can bat. But now, do you have your main leg spinner a little worried about his place because he's getting 2 games, he's giving left out of 2 games, he's getting 1 game?
Yeah, and Zach was just saying that India is at least picking up wickets in the middle. The one who's been doing that is Yajwendra Chahal. Yes. So how he'd feel would depend on what the decision is. Like he said, if the captain and coach have had a chat with him and said, look, we're trying something, then you would be confident when you come back the next game. But if it's a decision taken because you lost the last game, you tied the game before that, you haven't had a great Asia Cup, then that bowler's thinking differently. He's saying, listen, what am I doing? I thought I was doing well. And the general conversation around cricket and the cricketing world has been what? Oh, there is a big difference in how we used to play when Ashwin and Ravindra played. The spinners are doing a different job. They're taking wickets in the middle. So this aspect of your game has actually been the successful aspect. Whereas in the first game, Kuldeep also didn't play. Yeah. So it is still trial and error.
Could they have told him, look, once Hardik Pandya comes back into the side, he'll be playing the New Zealand one days. Yeah. Certainly, that's the plan at the moment.
So who stays
once
out?
Hardik Pandya comes in, then you'll get back your place, and maybe Ravindra Jadeja goes out.
No, but whose place does Hardik Pandya come then in?
At 7 in the same side. So instead of Ravindra Jadeja, Hardik Pandya comes in, so the 2 wrist spinners get to keep their place again.
No, if he's 7, 2 wrist spinners, then you don't have the seamers.
And you'll 2 seamers, so Hardik plays as the 3rd seamer.
So then Ravindra doesn't play.
Yes.
So what is Ravindra playing for? Because he wasn't around for a year. I'm happy to see him because I think he's an outstanding player in the limited over version.
I think even in limited overs game he gives you 10 in the field.
Yes, because you can add those runs with him there. So the problem is with your batting. You lost the last game with your batting, and I'm not saying there's a problem in that sense because you have great players. But if you don't finish with the top 3, 4, you've not been able to take it at the end. So it's your 5, 6 and 7. That is your trouble. Yes. And 5, 6 and 7 includes Hardik Pandya in it.
And yet the biggest changes have come at number 4. So there have been so many changes in Indian cricket recently. So we thought we'd put out a little graphic to tell you just how many changes there have been in recent times. 50 changes in 22 tests. So you're making little more than 2 changes every time you get onto the field for a test match. But one days, you're making about 2 changes every game, like they've happened this time. You can understand to some extent you're resting, you're rotating players. And in T20s, just about anybody's coming and playing. They're making 3 changes. It's funny that the most popular form of the game and the highest viewership game is the game where selection is considered easy and you can rest people. But that's for another day. Do you think India making too many changes?
Look, when you're looking at ODIs, you mainly looking at World Cup as a milestone, maybe. When the last World Cup finished, the team starts building towards the World Cup. They see, okay, which are the players eventually will be playing, forming a core as well, which we've seen with this team as well. The core is formed, 6, 7 players.
Out of these changes, sorry to interrupt. The reason I'm doing is out of these changes, 9, since you mentioned the core, are playing most of the games. So are these 9 your core, you think?
I think so. So that's something which everyone has got clarity, and the numbers are also suggesting that. So these 9 players will be there going towards the World Cup. Around that, there have been concerns which we've been talking about. That there's been the middle order muddle which we've been talking about. There's been suddenly now you will see that there are 6 debutants in the last 6-8 months, and most of them have been bowlers. And that kind of thought process has evolved from Bhuvneshwar Kumar being injured, and he's been missing matches. Now suddenly, so close to the World Cup, you're thinking that, okay, what are our options? Because these players have been playing consistently. Bumrah and Bhuvneshwar.
They've tried Deepak Chahar, Khalil Ahmed, Siddharth Kaur recently.
Exactly. And there are 3 more changes also. So so basically you're looking at now suddenly closer to the World Cup. What are our backups? And if you're thinking like that, that means your homework is somewhere not complete. You know, you're still looking to find that option which can be a backup of your main bowlers, because then you've never thought about, you know, Bumrah might get injured, or Bhuvneshwar might get injured. Shami and Umesh have been not playing regularly this format because they've not been given opportunities, and also they've been looked at being the senior statesmen in a way. You know, they've had international experience, and thinking that, you know, in this format they might not be effective, or they've been rested for the test matches, whatever the reasons may be, but they've not been a regular fixture of Indian team. So that's something, you know, which has been evident in the last a few months or so, and that shows that the World Cup preparation in that sense, in terms of the squad or the playing 11, apart from the 7 or 9 players, you know, there are still a lot of holes which needs to be filled.
You played 3, right? 92, 96, 99. 96 was probably the best opportunity out of those two. How settled was the team before 96? The reason I ask is, if you want to play the 2019 World Cup now, at what point, how many games before do you say, right, this is my 15? Now maybe I'll move around the 15. So it isn't happening for India, West Indies. Would you say when India go to Australia, the team that will be picked for the last 3 one-dayers there is largely the team that should go to the World Cup barring injury?
They should. I mean, just going back to that start, because, you know, 92, 96, 99 are a good example to look at and learn from, because those were your unsuccessful ones.
Yeah.
So 92 was a chaos anyway.
Yes.
96 also, which you said we had a good chance. If you look at that side, it kept changing through. I started opening, then I was in the middle. Manoj Prabhakar at the start of the tournament was your main bowler. He get thrashed in one game against Sri Lanka. He's gone. So 99 was, you know, a building stage. But the one to look at is 2011, the one that you won.
Yes.
Look at that side. In that side, the only man who played in the last 3 years or debuted or found a new place was a man called Virat Kohli. Everybody else had been around for very long.
Yeah.
So
Kohli, maybe Ashwin to some extent, but he wasn't a fixture in the 11.
So he wasn't the reason you won. So ideally you would want that. But taking a little back, said 2015 is when we started preparing for this World Cup in 2019. The question is, who decides that? Because now if you look back, now we're very close to the World Cup, so I could say this. 2015 World Cup, you decided you were making a team for 2019. So you leave one captain out, bring another captain in. If you ask anybody on the world, what is Mahendra Singh Dhoni's greatest strength? Is his captaincy. He's leading the side. So he's still going to be there, but you're not going to use his services. So I think we think in Indian cricket too far ahead. It changes every game. You know, how settled it was, you know, in 96 that you referred to. There's no game that I batted at the same number. You know, Srinath ji batted ahead of me in that series as well.
Srinath ji the.
Srinath ji. You know, there was
Zach ji batted.
Zach ji. So there were times that you were considered as a bowler in one game, and then you had another extra bowler. There is too much pressure on Indian cricket when it comes to the World Cup, and the captain and the coach, no matter who it is, they do not have a choice to stick to what they want, because if they did, oh, forget about that. We haven't had a constant coach for that long. I mean, in the last 2 years, you had a coach change twice. So who's the mindset? Who's going to decide what is the team that we're going to pick? So it's a chaos, and we just have to go along with this chaos and enjoy
amidst
it.
all the chaos, one thing still hurts. Ajay Jadeja was a top order batsman, and it still hurts that Srinath batted number 3 in some games. It still hurts, I can see.
No, it was pinch hitter. Those days were the pinch hitter days.
Correct.
No, not at 3. He batted at 6. And I went to 7.
It's hurting even more.
In that World Cup, and after that knock. So
now that should hurt.
No, but I'm saying, so, I mean, that's in joke, but I'm saying that's what happens.
Yeah.
See, it's easy for us sitting here and we talk about the game, and I have a way of looking at it. Zach might have a different way. You have an approach that you look. But the thing is that there is nobody who can actually execute what he wants to do, and that is what Indian cricket is. If it was Virat Kohli who was doing the side, then you would not have certain changes. If it was Ravi Shastri as a coach who should be deciding, he wasn't around for the last 2 years. He was thrown out and he's brought back. So this far ahead in Indian cricket, according to me, is a waste of time to look at, because the guys who actually run it don't have the choice to make those decisions.
Okay, there's another team playing as well. We need to remind you. This is an India-centric program, so that's all right. Now, the West Indies have made one change as well. Let's see who's playing for the West Indies. Obaid McCoy is gone. They're getting Chemo Paul, and there's a bit of grass on the surface, so maybe they want a little zip from Chemo Paul. So Paul, Holder, Allen, Roach, and Nurse, with options from Samuels and Powell. This is an understated team. You look at this side, you don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oops, how am I going to bowl to these guys? And yet, see, everybody is pulling his weight. Powell has played a role, Hope has played a role, Hetmeyer has played a role, Samuels took 3 wickets the other day, Holder's been in 120 for 5 to 280, he had a role, Nurse was man of the match, Roach has bowled some good spells. So there isn't a Kohli or a Bumrah in this side, but everyone's still playing well.
I think the bottom line for that is the intent. You know, they've figured out what kind of brand of cricket they're going to play, and that is something which was very evident from the first 3 matches. Is that their approach and the intent at the crease, and like how Ajay was mentioning the fact that, you know, they've been going at it. It doesn't matter even if you are getting all out, it's fine. But we're going to have the same kind of intent right throughout those 50
I think
overs.
that's reflected in the numbers as well. If you look at how the West Indies have been batting, because in recent times people would just turn up and beat the West Indies. But in this series, look at that, 5.9, 6.0. They've not gone, Ajay, from 4.5 to 8.
Yeah.
They kept going, as Zach says. And even the wickets in the middle overs, even if they lose 3 wickets, look at the averages there. They're losing about 2 and a bit in the first 10, and they're losing about 3 in the next. So going into the slog overs, they've lost 5 wickets and they're still scoring at just under 7 and over.
Yeah, they've kept it going, and we've seen that in this series as well. And wickets, if you see in that list, the maximum wicket lost are in 40 to 60. Yeah. So what it tells you is that they've actually had wickets to lose at the end. That means the top orders actually lasted longer. So whoever's batting is carrying on. Zach made a very important point in that second game when we were talking, can they chase it? So to get to 300 totals, that's the basic. You know, you need somebody to get from the top order, get a big score and be there till the end. And every game that they've got close to, they've had somebody play at the end. And then you've had that cameo from Nurse. So they've been doing their roles. They're playing cricket in a way that they're not playing, Zach will bowl from this end, I will bowl from this end. They're saying, this is the role to be done at this stage. Let's see who's the best man to do it. And Jason Holder's, you know, managed to use their
Let's see if there's a change in
pretty well.
Let's see if we can sense a change in the pattern. I don't know if we've got enough of a sample size to discern that, but let's see if there are indicators anyway. There we go. Average was from April 2015 till now. See the average 41 to 50. This series has been 33. Here it's 18. So they're doing far better. Even though their run rate is better, they're losing, their average is only 18. So they're starting to play much better from overs 41 to 50. The averages are much higher. Now, this could well be, because we only have three matches to choose from, it could well be that the batting conditions are better than some of those. A lot of those might have been in Dubai as well. I think they played a few there.
And also depends on early wickets. You know, if your wickets have fallen, then the middle order usually used to take that time in consolidating, and that's something which is changed right now. You know, and that's what Ajay also was talking about, that in terms of what brand of cricket Windies used to play earlier, was just to go out there and express yourself, play aggressive cricket, and that's something, and play your shots. So that's something which has been visible. The binding factor here is Shea Hope playing that anchor role beautifully.
Yes.
You know, so because he's playing that anchor role beautifully, it's allowing the other guys to, even though they are losing wickets in the middle overs, they are able to keep the run rate going, and that's something which the numbers also are suggestive of, that even though they've been losing wickets in the middle over, you know, that run rate has not been affected, and these things happen only if you have been discussing about it. You know, only if your team management has given you the license that, okay, you will lose wickets, you know, it doesn't matter, you have to play this kind of cricket. You might score 190 and get all out, it's fine. We are
but
okay
you might
with
score
that.
330.
But you will consistently, more often than not, score that par score which we are talking about, and you'll always keep that pressure on the bowlers through and through.
Now, since you mentioned a par score, we don't know what a par score at the Brabant Stadium is, because there hasn't been cricket for a long time. Why the game moved from Wankhede to Brabant Stadium is a sad story in itself that we won't get into, because you had nobody to sign checks in the Mumbai Cricket Association, the team that's won the Ranji Trophy 41 times. But that's a story for another day. You're back at the CCI. In spite of the fact that CCI doesn't get a lot of international cricket, you always get good tracks, right? The Brabant always gives you a good track. You've got happy memories of playing there.
Oh, great memories.
Man of the match, 95?
From childhood. Oh, yes, of course, at the international level. But I think this is the home of Indian cricket, and this wicket is the most sporting wicket that you'll find. It has enough bounce. When they leave a little grass, it could seam, then it turns. And going back to the memories, yes, I mean, those were good days. When
I need to make a small correction. You weren't man of the match. You hit the winning runs
Did I?
in
Oh,
that game.
God, I thought
But the problem is man of
I
the match was
thought I
Javagal
got
Srinath. Man of the match was Srinath.
was it? Srinathji.
Srinathji.
Srinathji was one of
2
the
for
finest.
22.
I mean, Zach's sitting next to me, but I can tell you, nobody bowled faster than that man
Oh,
in
yes,
Indian
yes.
cricket that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So he and an outstanding person. And a great guy
Three
to
for
have.
17 from 8 overs. Ashish Kapoor was playing there as well. You got a fifer at the Brabant. They had a test match in 2009.
Yeah,
didn't they?
we actually became number 1 after that test match, and
Yeah.
there's an interesting story actually leading up to that match, because I was coming off from shoulder injury, the surgery in fact, which was about 3-4 months prior to that series. It was my comeback series of sorts, and the first match was in Kanpur. And Kanpur was, as you know how much help is there in the wicket for the fast bowlers.
There's so
The
much
ball
pain
was
in-
dying down to the keeper.
If you
and-
could have got a close up on Zach's face, you could have put a caption saying pain.
Yeah, so Kanpur wicket was
Yeah.
like that, and not easy to make a comeback on those sorts of wickets. So that was a tough game for me, and next game was at
Brabant.
CCI.
Yeah.
In between, there were about 2-3 days, and the team was resting. So there was optional practice. No one decided to go to the ground, but I was very keen, and I went to the ground with Gary, and we had just like about 45-50 minute bowling session. No one around at the ground. Both the teams were resting, and Gary's son also was there. Joshua was also there. So it was only me, Gary, and him. And Gary was mitting to me, and I wanted to see the carry, because Kanpur was not offering that, and there we did that session where I just told Gary that I want to see the ball flying to the keeper, and with the kind of impact usually it does to the glove was a great indication for me that what kind of rhythm I am in. And I kept asking Gaza about that how's it hitting?
Is it hurting?
Hitting hard? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that session I remember more than the performance which followed. So I think the lead up of that was something which is very memorable for me, and me and Gary always talk about that, because it was something which we did outside of our comfort zones. It was a long tiring day. We still went to the ground, made that effort. He kept the mitts and the balls and everything aside from the team bus and the team kit which goes. So these special efforts give you special reward, and that fifer, that's why it was very special for me.
Interesting, he talked about us where the gloves were hurting. Kiran More told me once, he said one of the most beautiful feelings for him when Javagal Srinath came, he said first time my fingers were hurting because the ball was hitting. Right, Ajay, talk us through these pictures. What change do you see between these and the man sitting next to you?
Oh, just the same. The spirit is the same. The approach and the preparation is the same. Maybe a little bit in age and a little bit in weight. And that has to do with what happened after that practice. Because one of the nicest things about CCI is growing up, childhood, we had the opportunity to go there, were the sandwiches. Did you have one at the end of that practice session?
Oh, yeah.
The mayonnaise and chicken sandwich there.
On with the
If you
cane
have a
chairs
few of
outside.
those, this is what happens then.
On the cane chairs outside with mint tea.
And the memories of CCI or the growing up is you'd see Raj Singh ji, Hanuman Singh ji, and all the senior players would be around. Vasu Paranjpe would certainly be there, and the cricketing brain that was around in that period,
Dilip
Sardesai ji, and they would all be there, and they would always be there to help you or guide you and tell you about cricket. So for me, that is the mecca of Indian cricket. It may not be part of this new BCCI that you were referring to, why it's changed, but cricket, that's the mecca. That's our lords, Indian cricket lords, and things that they've done. They've broken laws. They brought in, what did they do? They changed the law for Sachin Tendulkar. To find a genius, you have to go outside the box, and CCI showed that, and just a memory to Raj Singh ji.
Now, what are you expecting from today's game? It's 1-1, 2 games left. India got out of jail in that tie, lost the next game. They are batting first today. What do you see them? What, 330, 340 kind of surface?
I think I would like to see the intent of top three. How the middle order has been responding shouldn't affect the approach they've been having, and that's why probably one of the reasons Virat was very vocal about that at the toss. He made sure that we don't the batsmen don't get into that kind of defensive mindset. You know, that's the key.
Yeah.
So they've increased the depth in the batting order just to tell the top order that okay, you don't change your approach. Yes, there are some issues in the middle order right now. You know, we're not able to get over that, but that doesn't mean that the top three change the approach, and that's something which I'm really looking forward to from this match, how the approach
You know,
is.
normally at the Wankhede, they say it's a difficult ground to defend. So you tend to chase at the Wankhede. It's 200 meters away, and you want to bat first here. It's governed by the fact that he thinks they won't be due, or he just wants to go out there, score runs, and see how West Indies chase.
Yeah, because he said that. He said, we've heard that there's going to be no due, so you're
Yeah.
taking a chance with that.
Yeah.
I think the results got a lot to do with it. I mean, look at the side. I mean, you think of Indian batting as the most solid thing. Where have you added in batting? You're not worried about bowling. Whereas the last two games, if you look, I think you lost because of your bowling. Because team being 220 for 8 gets to almost 280, and that
Yeah.
game gets close, and then the other way. So your bowling is where you actually struggled, but you added to batting because the impact was made at that end. What I'm looking forward to is to see, can West Indies retain the style of playing, because we saw this in the first 2-3 games. We're talking about it. That was okay when you had nothing to lose. You were a side not expected to win. Now you're a side expected to win. Let's see what West Indies comes out with.
Yeah, one more game for the young left-hander. So they really want to invest in him. They're giving him these 2-3 games to see how he goes. Because if you remember, we talked about the 2015 World Cup. India's best bowlers at the 2015 World Cup were Yadav and Shami.
Yeah.
And they're not getting a game, so they're really keen to try the left-hander.
Absolutely, I think and again, they want to give him enough time to get settled.
Which is good. I mean, we've talked
Yeah.
about the changes, but here's a kid who's getting 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So there you are. India won the toss, and India are batting. Couple of changes. Kedar Jadhav comes back in. Poor Rishabh Pant he'll have to wait another day because the wicketkeeper slot is full at the moment. And Ravindra Jadeja comes back in place of Yuzvendra Chahal, who's going through a bit of in and out. Kimo Paul comes in the side for Obaid McCoy. Now, we're not finishing yet because we've got one thing to go. We've got the joy factor. Let's see if you can get the joy factor. Here's the question coming up for you. If Zaheer Abbas was the first, Saeed Anwar was the second, but the trend is broken. You got a South African. Herschelle Gibbs was the third. Then who is the latest and what have they all done? The great Zaheer Abbas first. Saeed Anwar would like playing against India, and Herschelle Gibbs was a character in himself. So Zaheer Abbas was nowhere near the character that Herschelle Gibbs was, so there's nothing in common there. So let's see if you can get that one. Remember, you've got to send in your answers with a hashtag at Cricbuzz Live. Send your answers on Twitter to @Cricbuzz, on Facebook to Cricbuzz as well. We'll be back in the 15th over with the Uber Presents Cricbuzz Combox. For the news for the moment, India are batting first.